Hey Beef, it's Frankie. So I wanted to put together a little tutorial for you regarding the photo that you sent me with the laser eyes, and I want to go ahead and kind of walk you through what I did to correct that. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to pull up Photoshop here, and let me open up the original photo, which is right here. And here we go. Got the laser eyes going on. And I'll show you how we went from that to this. This is the corrected one. About as natural as we're going to get it to look. And I'll tell you why in a minute. We'll get into that. But so here's the original. And what I want to do first is start with saving a copy of this file, just in case you want to go back to the original. You never know. There might be some things that you do with this one that you look at and you decide, hey, I want to try something different, and then you've still got the original to work off of. So I'm going to save this as we're just going to call it -2 because I've already got -1 that I was working with. And so same file name, just -2 right up here, and save. And then I want to make sure in Photoshop the quality is 12, which means you take this slider and slide it all the way up to large file maximum. Baseline is fine, you can leave it right there, and just click OK. Okay, so now we're working off a copy, and first thing I want to do is come right over here to where it says background on the layers panel here. This is what this is called, layers panel. Here's the title. Double click where it says background, or where background is, and that'll actually allow you to turn it into a layer. And click OK. I'm just going to leave it named layer 0. That's fine. And then the next thing I want to do is come right here to where it says layer 0, right click, and choose duplicate layer. And it's going to be named layer 0 copy. I'm just going to change that to layer 1. Click OK. And then layer 1 will be sitting on top of layer 0. And we're going to do all our work on this layer 1, which is on top of the layer 0. All right, so Photoshop, a lot of these other programs that you can use to edit photos usually have a pretty decent red eye tool to go in and get rid of red eye. In the case of this particular photo, these glints or glares that are in the eyes are not red. They're white and yellowish. So the red eye tool is not going to be very effective here. So let's zoom in, and I'm going to zoom into right about 400%. Right about there. And if you look down here on Photoshop, it shows you your zoom percentage down here in the corner. So I'm at 400%. That's a pretty decent zoom for me to start working on these. And what we're going to do, since we can't use the red eye tool, we're literally just going to go in and paint over these glints and then try to make it look as natural as possible. So first thing we want to do is just kind of scan it over, take a look at what we've got to work with here. And if you'll notice these glares in the eyes, they're not just in the eye, but they kind of shoot off to the top right there on all of these. And that is where the camera moved, and that's part of why the picture's got a little blur to it too. The camera moved while the photo was being taken. And so you've got the glare, and then you've got it shooting off to the top right like that. On all of these, glare off to the top right. And we'll get to that. We'll fix all of that. So the first thing I want to do is let's start working on these two eyes right here. So I want to grab my paintbrush, which is right over here. And then I want to come down to the color picker down here and click on this top layer color, and that'll bring up my color picker and the little dropper or eyedropper here. And I want to move that around to just underneath the eye here where I've got this dark color, which is actually part of the iris and should be the color of the eye. And I'm just going to click on one of the dark areas down here, and you'll see this here changes to that color. If I click white, or up here where the glint is, it changes. And we're going to select this dark color right there, and then click OK. And I'm going to bring my brush size up a little bit, and to do that, use the left and right brackets. Left bracket makes it smaller, right bracket makes it bigger. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, right about the size of the eye there. And I'm just going to click a few times. But also make sure your opacity and your flow up here, I've got mine set to 100%. And we're just going to click a few times and fill in that sort of eyeball area right there. And again, it's not going to look natural right away. We'll get to work on that. All right. And I'm going to do the same thing with this eye here. Bring up my color picker. Pick the dark color down here. Click OK. And then just kind of paint. And notice I'm not painting over where that streak is on these eyes. There's a different way we're going to fix that, and I'll show you that after we're done filling in the eyes here. All right, so that one looks pretty good. I'm going to come up here, and we're going to do same thing, color picker, dark color underneath the glare there in the eyes, and just start painting that glare out. It doesn't have to be perfectly circle. Something like that. That kind of works. That's good. And we're going to go here, underneath the eye, click OK, and paint. Just get rid of that glare in the eyes there. And then same thing here. Color picker, dark color under the eye, and paint. And I'm just clicking, just going around and clicking often, actually, in case you need to undo any of the work that you did, or if you make a mistake you need to undo. You won't have to undo a whole streak that you did, just the last click that you did. And color picker, dark color, and just kind of fill in that area there. All right. That looks pretty good. And so the next thing we're going to do is, even though these eyes don't have a glint to them, we need, well, not even though, we need to add the glint back into these eyes. If we look at your eye here, you'll see that there's still a glint right there in the middle, right there. And that needs to get added back in to make them look natural. Okay, so what I'm going to do is grab the color picker. I'm going to lift the color of the glint in your eye right there. Click OK. Come back over to the first set of eyes. And I'm going to reduce my brush size. Make it kind of small right about there. And I'm just going to click a few times right around the middle. Again, doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Kind of want actually a little bit more of a ovalish kind of shape to it. Right there. Same thing here. And yeah, and again, it's kind of looking like robot eyes here, but we're going to fix that. And we're going to just click there a few times, add that glint into his eyes. And same here. Glint. And glint. Just like that. Okay, so now let's finish off working with the eyes here and try to make them look natural. So you can see right here and right here, there's still a bit of that glare. It's actually chopping off, looks like their eyelashes, you know, cutting their eyelashes in half and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is bring their eyelashes back down into this area and bring all this, make them look like one. And the paint job we did actually kind of goes over their eyelashes too right here. And we'll fix that as well. So what we want to do for that, the tool I like to use is, if you come down here, you might be set to blur tool. If you right click on this tool, you'll see there's three different tools here. There's blur, sharpen, and smudge. Smudge is what we want. And you want to leave the brush size right about that size, a little bit smaller maybe, right in there. And what we're going to do with the smudge tool is actually start taking this dark color, which is the, well, shadow of the eyelash and the eyelash itself, and start smearing that over. If you click and drag, just little clicks and drags, you can actually start smudging. And it's kind of like working with Play-Doh in the picture. You're smudging all that area together. And then grab a little bit of the eye, smudge that up a little bit, bring this back down into it, and you'll see how that kind of adds that natural look to it almost right away. And we've got rid of the rest of that glare on the eye too. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Start on the dark color, smooth over, click and drag, click and drag. And then kind of pull it down a little bit to get rid of the rest of that glare on the eye. Click and drag, smudging. And we're going to pull that dark color from the eye up in there and see how that kind of sets it all in together there. And that's already starting to look a lot more natural. Now, do the same thing here. He's got a lot of work needs to be done. I'm going to pull this down. Pull all this dark color down, smudging, click and smudge, click and drag. That's all you're doing, little drags. And we're going to take this color from the eye and bring it back up in there. And you see how that white line in between them starts to disappear as you smudge those two colors together. Just like that. And then bring it down over the top of the eye. So the eye looks like it gets set back into the, well, eye socket basically, and the eyelashes protrude over. That's what we're going for here. Let's see here. We've got this dark color. We're just going to pull that over. Pull some of this up here too to get rid of the glare because that one went really high up on his eye. Pull down, and then up with the eye color. That kind of, like I said, we're getting rid of that glare, that white line in there, and we're setting the eye back into the head, basically. Okay. Just like that. We could pull this dark color over just to make it look continuous, you know, there. And maybe a little correction there and a little bit there. Okay. All right, so one more set of eyes. Grab the dark color, pull it over, dark color, over, and we're just smudging. And I'm clicking often and dragging, little drags, clicking and little drags. And that's the technique you want to use when you're using this smudge tool. At least when you're doing kind of restoration type stuff. You can get artsy with it, of course, if you want to. And we'll pull these colors down in here. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Pull that eye color up just a little bit, and then smudge that dark color back down over the top of it. And just get that continuity going there. There we go. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's pull this down here just a little bit. There. Okay. So now we still have a bit of a robotic look to it, and that's because the picture itself's got some grain to it. It's got a little bit of blur to it, and when you paint using the paintbrush in Photoshop, it's very sharp. You're painting very sharp colors with very sharp edges, and or you know, if you're using a soft brush, it could have soft edges, but it still pops out from the rest of the photo because there's no grain in it, there's no blur to it. And so what we're going to do to kind of help these finish off having that natural look is I'm going to take the blur tool, which if I come back over here where the smudge tool was and select the blur tool, I'm going to have my strength set to 100%, and I'm just going to blur these eyeballs a little bit. It's basically all I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of click here and drag it up the way the blur was going anyway, and try to simulate that blur that's in the photo anyway. And maybe once or twice. It's not going to take much. Just like that. And click and push, click and push. And immediately, that looks so much more natural. We're going to do the same thing here. Kind of click and push, click and push. Get 3 on there. His eyes are a little bit bigger. Okay. And here. Click and push. And click and push. All right. So if we zoom out now, definitely a lot more natural looking. We can go with even a darker color in his eyes if you wanted it to kind of set in a little bit more. His eyes look a little light. But that's the process you would use to go through and kind of fix all that up. And so going through, if we come back here, I wanted to show you there's a bit of a color cast going on here. If we go back in, if I bring up my color picker and I click on what should be white, which is like, the tooth here, her tooth, click on that, you're going to see that it selects something around a purplish red range here, and that tells me that there's a bit of a purple cast or a color cast towards the red or the purples going on throughout the entire photo. Photoshop's got some easy, quick fixes for that. What I would do now at this point is I come up here to Image and go to Auto Tone, and boom, that immediately cleared a lot of that color cast out, brought back the skin tones to looking a little bit more natural, and then Image and Auto Color, and that just added just a little bit more, looks like blue to the photo, cooled it off a little bit, which is cool. And well, that's it. That's how I take care of that. So what I'm going to do now is go to Layer. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to choose Flatten Image, and then File, Save, and we're done. And that's how you repair that kind of a photo. So hope that helped. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always available. So, all right, Beef. We'll talk to you later. Have fun. Bye.